everyone's ability to recruit their chest is going to be completely variable based on the angle of your sternum and the protraction versus retraction of your shoulders. So in order to make your chest, give your chest the greatest mechanical advantage and the greatest ability to move this weight, we're going to try to position Matt in a way that really puts his chest in that position that takes his shoulders and his delts out of it. So first question that needs to be answered is bar placement or elbow path. So the simple answer is, with my trusty broomstick, when you're lying on your back, wherever you can pull that bar to, where your elbows are directly under the bar. So I don't want to be doing anything like this or anything like this. I want my elbows directly under the bar, and wherever your arms kind of naturally want to come. You don't, like I said, you don't want to drop your elbows down. For hypertrophy, you want your elbows pretty close to being 90 degrees, and you want your elbows under the bar if I'm pushing that way. So that's pretty simple. I don't want to try to come down. I don't want to try to come up. Just come wherever is neutral, wherever is most natural for you, and keeping your elbows under the bar, imagining I'm laying on my back. Okay? So Matt's going to lay on his back. I'll walk you through it. So as far as width, how wide do we take this bar? We take it the bar width that allows us to have our forearms at perpendicular to the ground at the bottom of the rep. So we could be there, which is perpendicular, or slightly inside. So now if you guys were to come and observe, come around here, the camera, and observe the angle of Matt's forearm. You see how it's slightly internally rotated? So he's not even quite at 90 degrees. So for Matt to be 90 degrees, he actually needs to bring his elbow there a little bit. And that way we know that his elbow is directly under the bar. His natural setup position was kind of like that. So if you're really observing, you'll notice that his elbow is slightly outside of his wrist. So we're going to turn it this way, and now we know it's directly underneath. And you can just say, make that slight manipulation by just dropping his elbows just a little bit. So Matt will take this heavy bar and do, so how far does he need to go down? He's going to try to retract his shoulders as aggressively as possible, pulling them back, keeping the elbows directly underneath the bar. That way a little bit. This way. Good. As far as you can go. Okay, so that's Matt's active range of motion. That's as far as he can go. Any lower than that, Matt, how would you get lower? If everyone says I got to touch my bar to my chest, and look what happened to his elbows. His elbows are no longer underneath the bar, and now his body wants to push in this direction. So that doesn't allow you to use this implement, right? So the load in your hands only exert force straight up and down. So we got to make sure our elbow is directly under that bar. And that's as far as he can go down actively. So that's his range of motion. So now he's going to extend up. But when he extends up, he's not thinking about pushing up. What's he thinking about doing? If we know that we're trying to influence the pec only crosses the shoulder joint. So we're only trying to influence the shoulder joint. So the only part of our upper arm, that influences the shoulder joint is the upper arm or the humerus. So he's trying to think about bringing his upper arm across the body without allowing those shoulders to leave the bench. He's going to pin the shoulders back and drive the upper arm or the elbows in toward the middle. Good. He's trying to squeeze that muscle as hard as he possibly can. Awesome. Good, Matt. Thanks, man. So the only other consideration when trying to optimize recruitment of your chest is what's on top. So you'll see a lot of people with variable sternal angles. You get people with very flat sternums compared to people with very rounded sternums. You're going to have completely different ability to recruit your chest. So by changing what's on top, you're going to drastically change the amount of stimulus to the chest. So Matt, lay down one more time. I'll take that. Good. So if Matt pulls his arms back like he's going to do a bench press. So Matt's sternal angle is actually pretty steep compared to most guys. You see a lot of guys when they get in there, their sternum is almost basically parallel with the ground. Matt's got a pretty steep sternal angle. So if you look at the angle of his pec line travels that way. So if Matt were to optimally recruit his pec, the greatest amount of his pec, he'd want to try to match this pec line so that it's almost vertical. So he's going to try to arch his back and arch a little bit more. Good, there we go. You see what he just did by doing that? He arched his back, and now he took this almost 20 degrees closer to being vertical. Now he's got a tremendous ability to use all of these fibers in his pecs because these are on top. If you were to imagine he didn't have any skin, all these muscle fibers are moving in exactly this direction. They have the ability to pull in this direction. So all these muscle fibers, if you could imagine a set of muscle fibers that look like that, these being lower, these are middle, these are upper, all of these have the greatest ability to pull in this position. These are on the top. These are going to have the greatest ability to do the most work. So we know that Matt's going to be working this part of his chest. If he wanted to work, say, this part of his chest, crunch down, Matt, you see how now this is not pulling over here, but these ones are kind of pulling across the body? So whatever arm angle or whatever angle his arm decides to move at is going to influence which pec fibers are being recruited. So if the arm comes across the body this way, these ones are going to get more recruitment. So it's pretty clear to see by manipulating the sternal angle how drastically you can change the chest recruitment. So pay attention to that, especially guys out there who have flat rib cages. You don't have a nice big round rib cage like Matt. You really got to focus on getting your shoulders back and putting your chest on top. If you're flat, chances are your shoulders and your pec are going to be flush. So when you're doing a bench press, you're going to get a lot of front delt and a lot of triceps. So if you want to preference your chest or give your chest a mechanical advantage to move this weight, you got to pull the shoulders back. So much so, and arch, so much so that I often suggest putting a half roller between your shoulder blades, or rolling up a towel or something, put it between your shoulder blades to allow you to get that greater retraction of the scapula and greater elevation of your pec. So your chest sits on top.
You look completely befuddled. Listen, we know it's a lot to know just to set up and execute correctly, and should be of zero surprise that the bench press, an exercise that looks simple on the surface, is often poorly executed. When you perform any exercise, you need to master how to properly set up, stabilize, and execute first, or your efforts will be in vain. With that said, in this case, even if you mastered every aspect of properly setting up and executing the exercise, you were screwed before you began because the equipment used to perform the lift is flawed. It's been well documented the flat bench is a biomechanically flawed design. The flat surface of the bench interferes with the natural mechanics of the shoulder, which is holding you back from getting the most from your workouts, and putting you on a direct path towards a potential injury. Allow me to explain. In weight training activities, that is the bench press, the scapulohumeral rhythm can become inhibited due to the equipment used to perform the lift. Pinariello, 2011. For example, the bench used in the bench press interferes with the normal movement of the scapula and will not allow the athlete's scapulohumeral rhythm to move efficiently. The problem comes from the athlete lying on the bench with his or her body weight creating the inability for the scapula to move in proper sequence with the humerus. Pinariello, 2011. When the scapular movement is limited, it changes the scapulohumeral rhythm, which may lead to symptoms of impingement. The scapula is designed to move in rhythm with the humerus. In other words, the two are in sync with one another, and any movement you make with your upper arm should also be accompanied by movement of your scapula. To stay injury-free, during any push-pull movement, your scapula needs to be able to move to accommodate the force being placed on your upper arm and shoulder joint. This is especially true with chest exercises. Scapular protraction and retraction are important to maximize safety and performance. To fix the scapula, or pull it back, while the humerus moves in the opposite direction, throws off the shoulder's natural scapulohumeral rhythm, and causes a separation effect to take place at the shoulder joint. This is exactly what happens when the bench press and its variations are performed on a flat surface. The flat bench surface restricts movement of the scapula, and the combination of a person's body weight plus the load traps the scapula, preventing it from reaching full protraction and retraction. This is catastrophic to the fragile structure of the shoulder and often leads to shoulder impingement and other injuries. The safety issues and excessive setup process, which Ben ran us through the details of earlier, played a major role in the creation of our patent-pending Launchpad. We should never have to wonder if the exercise equipment we're using has been made to work in coordination with the mechanics of our body. We should never have to go through such an extensive process just to nail setup and execution. Equipment should be designed to help put you in position to execute correctly, with added comfort, better stability, and improved exercise mechanics to advance your training, rather than take away from it. With that, we proudly bring you the Launchpad, the only product on the market to support proper form and technique during strength training, which is vital for safety and performance. The Launchpad's chamfered filleted side panels allow the scapula to move freely while you press. This enables the natural mechanics of the shoulder to remain intact, removes the dangerous strain the flat surfaces place joints under, and allows you to maximize chest recruitment through an enhanced range of motion. This design feature allows your muscles to reach a full stretch and full contraction on each rep, giving you a total chest strengthening experience that works all the pectoral muscle fibers and results in a safer, more effective workout. In addition, the Launchpad's adjustable lumbar support ensures your lower back is supported by eliminating space that exists between your back and the bench, putting a natural arch in your back. This improves your stability, enforces proper form, and automatically puts you in prime position to press, placing the mechanical advantage squarely on your pecs. The Launchpad is suited for all body types and users of any fitness level who want results from more effective training. Pair it with virtually any piece of equipment with a back pad for added comfort, better stability, and improved exercise mechanics to advance your training. For coaches, trainers, athletes, and competitive lifters, the launch pad offers you a competitive advantage in your training that you won't find anywhere else. The launch pad allows you to train safely, with proper form and improved exercise mechanics, through an active range of motion you physically cannot train on a flat surface. This has a significant impact on explosiveness, and leads to increases in power, strength, stability, endurance, and musculature development.